Hello students, welcome to Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Open University. Today we are going to discuss about development administration, meaning, concept and models. This topic is part and parcel of comparative and development administration. So, in which we are going to discuss about the importance and significance of development administration and its perspective. Remember one thing students, it is more about the perspective that we are talking about. So, in this approach of development administration emerged during 1950s and 60s and formed the intellectual foundation of what we might call the third world strand of public administration scholarship. So, in other words, this particular approach is meant for the developing countries and it is very much useful for the third world countries. And as a result of this extensive studies that carried out in the field of development administration, third world countries are able to produce a good number of scholarship in the field of public administration. The term development administration may sound self-explanatory, but it carries rich conceptual content and what we must carefully unpack. So, let us examine definition first. So, when it comes to the definition in relation to development administration, Edward Wiedner has defined in a very simple manner. So, according to him, development administration is nothing but the process of guiding an organization towards the achievement of progressive political, economic and social justice. What he means to say is that development administration in a simple terms is a process and in which it talks about the achievement of progress. So, usually when you try to compare the development administration with public administration, how do you differentiate? Public administration talks about the structure, public administration talks about the process. The public administration also talks about what we call how to run the or how to administer the public. But whereas when it comes to the development administration, which is having a very narrow perspective when we say in the context of development orientation. So, administration, though it is meant to serve, it is meant to provide services, it is meant to take care of the affairs of the public, but at the same time when you add the word development before the administration, it confines a particular scope to the administration and tries to establish what we call progressive approach. In other words, the approach that results into elevating the society and its progress from one level to another level. So, that is why it is called as the achievement of progressive political, economic and social objectives. So, this development administration will have its own goals, will have its own perspectives. So, the emphasis on progressive goals distinguishes it from routine administration. That is what we need to understand, that the distinction between public administration and development administration is the term called progressiveness. So, progressiveness differentiates the routine public administration from the development administration. The term development administration first used by U.L. Goswami in 1955. However, it was Donald Stone and Edward Wiedner who gave it systematic content. In other words, the coinage of the word called development administration was done by Goswami, but conceptually and theoretically it was developed by the other thinkers. Development administration refers to the administration of development programs and policies and at bringing about socio-economic transformation, particularly in developing countries. So, what does it mean? It means that development administration is about implementation of policies, implementation of programs. So, here when you talk about public administration, it talks about major or generic aspects. When it comes to development administration, it is very specific, remember. So, it is more concentrated towards implementation of the policies or execution of the laws or implementation of the welfare and development policies. So, remember one thing here, when we are talking about the word development, please note that development is inclusive of welfare. Sometimes we may see the difference between development and welfare. Precisely speaking, when we talk about welfare, it is about very focused area. It talks about certain sections in society. But when it comes to development, the term, it is about overall development. It is about all the sections of the society. So, when you look at the terms in the administrative language, for example, Hyderabad development or Bangalore development. So, here we are not talking about any specific area or specific people or specific sections in society, but about the overall development of the entire area. So, that is the purpose of the term called development. Adding before the administration changes the what you call the perspective. It is also the development of administrative capacity. So, broadly speaking, when you talk about development administration, it tries to deal with two important aspects. One is about the implementation of the policies, another one is about development of the administration itself. This is note down another important term called administrative development. So you can use the term development of administration or administrative development. Both deals with what? Both deal with capacity building. So it means that before we talk about the implementation of the policies by the administration, we need to focus on the administration itself. We need to focus on the administration itself means that improvement, enhancing the efficiency, providing training, providing facilities, infrastructural support to the administration itself, so that it will get ready to implement the policies. That is about the term called administrative capacity. So here remember one thing, that there are two dimensions to understand what we call development administration. One is administration for development, second one is administration of development of administration. So when we use the word administration for development, it is about what? Organizing, managing development programs. It can be in the field of agriculture, health, poverty elevation, education, or anything that results into the development of the society. Remember one thing, that there are other areas that administration also focuses on. For example, regulation, for example, law enforcement. Okay. So here administration focuses on multiple aspects, but in the when we use the word development administration, the focus of administration is confined to developmental aspects. Developmental aspects, when we are talking about the development of the society overall. Okay, and in which you can use the terms like agriculture, health, poverty, elevation. So all these initiatives or the policies will result into the overall development of the society. And another one important one is development of administration. Remember one thing, we cannot see these two dimensions going in an opposite way. I would call it as both dimensions are complementary to each other. What do you mean by that? It means that unless and until development of administration happens, you will not experience administration for development. That is the correlation between administration for development and development of administration. So when we talk about development of administration, it is about strengthening administrative institutions and human resources, as we discussed in the previous slide about the capacity building. Now current government also seriously focusing on what we call capacity building. And across the countries in the world, they are focusing now on the importance of staff, importance of personnel, importance of employees, in other words, importance of human resources. So earlier, traditional public administration deals with what? Traditional public administration deals about non-human aspects, about the infrastructure, about the structure, about the hierarchy, about the process. Here, when we talk about development administration, it also recognizes the importance of human resources. Okay. And also development administration emerged in the backdrop of decolonization, as dozens of new nations in Asia, Africa, Latin America gained independence during 1950s and 60s. There was an argument or an urgent need for what we call understand how the newly established states are going to build their own economies and through their administrative capacity. So Western governments and funding agencies at international level, especially America, has shown a lot of interest to understand about how the newly emerging countries are going to build their nations through the administrative mechanism, how they are going to design the administration, and also these American government has shown interest to provide technical assistance and also to these developing countries or third world nations to design their administration.